Previously on the Originals, under the influence of the Hollow, Klaus and Marcel were forced into a deadly game, battling each other. The Hollow used Marcel's blood to create a weapon capable of killing any Original. Freya and Josh teamed up, planning to trap Dominic and uncover the whereabouts of the remaining relics needed by the Hollow. Meanwhile, Elijah locked Marcel in a dungeon, fearing he would interfere with Klaus's plans. The siblings, separated by hundreds of years, finally met. Marcel opened up to his little sister. Hope asked him why he hated their father. Marcel looked conflicted and admitted that he didn't hate Klaus.
You can't hate someone who you loved for so long.
Hope looked at her brother with a mixture of understanding and confusion. Dominic quickly found Josh lying within the witch circle, disguised as Marcel, but he wasn't fooled by the ruse. Instead, he cast a spell to reveal Josh's true form. Dominic hadn't even been pleased for 3 minutes before Freya swiftly used her magic to subdue him, then effortlessly dealt with his henchman. Josh wasted no time in biting the throat of another lackey. Dominic grabbed hold of Josh's heart, but Freya soon trapped Dominic within a magical circle. The tide turned instantly. Dominic used the Hollow to intimidate Freya and Josh, but Freya wasn't one to be easily intimidated. She intended to strip Dominic of his protective spell, and then she could kill him. Freya swiftly completed her incantation and told Josh he could leave.
I live here.
Josh gallantly said he wouldn't leave Freya alone with Dominic, but Freya wasn't having it, so Josh reluctantly stepped away. Freya continued to torture Dominic, demanding to know the location of the remaining bones. Dominic remained defiant, insisting he knew nothing. Seeing that Dominic was no longer of use, Freya prepared to strike him down, but Dominic delivered a piece of news that rattled Freya. His men had already found Keelan's location and were planning to kill her. Freya didn't believe Dominic. She was sure that she had kept her relationship with Keelan well hidden. At that very moment, Keelan was indeed under attack by witches, her golden eyes glowing with fury. Dominic continued to provoke Freya, suggesting that Keelan might already be dead. In a moment of panic and rage, Freya blasted Dominic away, but this freed Dominic from his restraints, and he took advantage of Freya's distraction to strike her down. Dominic used his power to grip Freya's heart from a distance. Freya lay on the ground, convulsing, as the life slowly drained from her. Having single-handedly defeated all her enemies, Keelan arrived at Josh's bar, saying she was waiting for Freya to join her, but with Freya's death, the boundary spell she had cast also lost its power. Klaus quickly sensed that something was wrong. Haley's neck was suddenly snapped by an intruder. Klaus, with a swift move, tore out the intruder's heart. At that moment, Dominic swaggered into the house. The commotion upstairs alerted the siblings, who were deep in conversation. Hope prepared to fight, but Marcel quickly called out to her, asking her to release him from his cell. Hope resolutely refused Marcel's help. She took off the bracelet that suppressed her magic and threw it on the ground. Marcel continued to patiently persuade Hope, telling her that he was also her family, and family should trust and help one another. As the enemies drew closer, Hope wavered. Keelan soon found Freya lying unconscious and immediately began to resuscitate her beloved. Freya was relieved to see Keelan safe and sound, but she quickly realized that the protection spell on the house had failed. She got up and rushed home. Dominic picked up the thorn stake from the ground, remarking that tonight the Hollow would feast, and Hope likely wouldn't escape death either. The mention of his daughter made Klaus's expression darken instantly. He grabbed the stake and drove it into Dominic's chest, then swiftly split Dominic's skull with a knife hand strike. The danger to his daughter unleashed Klaus's full potential, but the dungeon was already empty. Both his son and daughter had vanished. Klaus picked up his daughter's bracelet from the pool of blood, his worry evident. Freya rushed back to the house only to see Haley lying on the floor. Keelan offers to help her, but Freya, with her family in mind, firmly refuses. Freya's coldness hurt Keelan deeply. Klaus frantically searched the streets for any sign of his daughter. Marcel sat on a bench with his little sister, waiting for him. Hope ran towards her father but was startled by the blood on Klaus's hands. Hope looked at him with a mixture of trust and doubt.
It's paint. I made quite a mess, didn't I?
Seeing Klaus's gentle expression, Marcel's heart is full of mixed feelings. Hope worriedly said that she had freed Marcel and hoped her father wouldn't be angry. Klaus agreed to his daughter's request. After resolving all the disputes, Freya walks down the street alone and is stopped by Keelan, who doesn't understand why Freya wants to get rid of her. Freya simply said that they should end things between them. It was precisely because she cared about Keelan's safety that she had allowed the enemy to take advantage. Neither her family nor Keelan could be put in danger again. Keelan, in turn, boldly expressed her feelings. She had watched Freya sacrifice everything for her family and said that she wanted to be the one who cared for Freya. Freya's eyes turn red and she feels bad for hurting her loved ones. After much internal struggle, Freya called out to her girlfriend just as she was about to leave. They embraced and kissed each other tightly, to make sure the hollow doesn't come back to life. Elijah and Vincent are discussing a plan. Vincent suggested that perhaps only the power of the witch ancestors could restrain the hollow. Elijah proposed another harvest ritual, but Vincent vehemently opposed this idea. The last harvest left the 4 witches either dead or insane, and almost no family was willing to risk their daughters again. He didn't want to force anyone into anything, but Elijah clearly didn't see it that way. The efficiency of the Originals vampires was off the charts. In the next moment, 4 young girls had their throats slit and were lying in the witches' cemetery. Vincent was furious, saying that according to the harvest ritual's protocol, he needed to first ask the ancestors if they would accept the sacrifices, but to save the innocent girls who had been tragically slain, Vincent begrudgingly prepared to carry out the ritual. The witch ancestors gave no response, because Vincent wasn't the regent of the French Quarter witches. It was against tradition for him to preside over the ritual. Elijah told him, "You were once the leader of the witches. Can you please stop doubting yourself?" Vincent had no choice but to regroup and try the spell again, but the witch ancestors refused. The spell produced no effect, and blood began to stream from the corners of Vincent and Elijah's eyes. Vincent felt like he was on the verge of madness. He said the witch ancestors had rejected the ritual and now viewed him as an ally of the vampires. An invisible force suddenly twisted Elijah's neck. Vincent had no other choice. After much hesitation, he walked towards Davina's grave. He chanted a spell, causing Davina's grave to burst open, and with deep guilt, he cradled her skull in his hands. Though it pained him greatly, Vincent placed the skull on the altar, carefully positioning it before chanting the spell once more. Elijah, who had just regained consciousness, was confused about what Vincent was doing. Vincent explained that he had long since stopped trusting the witch ancestors, but he had always believed in the goodness within Davina. If Davina's spirit still lingers in the other side, she will accept the offering and allow the girls to awaken. As Vincent had predicted, the sky suddenly opened up with a downpour, signaling that Davina had accepted the offering. In the pouring rain, the girls began to awaken one by one, though his methods were unconventional. Elijah had ultimately achieved his goal. He calmly accepted Vincent's moral judgment. Vincent told him that he would pray for Hope, as she was born into a family full of demons. As for Elijah, Vincent called him nothing more than a heartless killing machine. Vincent angrily leaves the scene of the ritual and tries to restore Davina's grave to its original state. Josh, as usual, came to visit Davina, only to find the tomb shattered. Vincent explained to Josh what had happened, saying that Davina was now their most important ally against the Hollow. She was overseeing all the power flowing from the ancestors to the earthly realm from the afterlife. Elijah returned home to share the day's events with his sister. Freya said she had discovered Dominic's original werewolf name. It was an ancient werewolf bloodline, tasked with guarding the Hollow's bones, just like Haley's parents. Now, the last member of that bloodline had also passed away, but Elijah noticed a familiar name on the computer screen.
Tyler Lockwood. So the bones are in Mystic Falls.
Invisible magic slowly pulled the tongued blade out of Sophia's body, and she suddenly sat up from the ground. Before Sophia could even catch her breath, a shadow began to take shape in the blue light behind her. A ghostly figure within the shadow said she needed to borrow Sophia's body for a while, then forcefully entered Sophia's body without waiting for consent. Possessed by the spirit, Sophia grabbed the tongued blade, her eyes now glowing with the Hollow's signature blue light. A little girl was placed on the altar, and in the next moment, the surrounding flowers withered instantly, while an eerie blue light emanated from within the swaddling cloth. This child was none other than Inadu, the original form of the Hollow. The witch ancestors were up to their tricks again, sending a message to Hope that Haley must go to the church. Klaus didn't trust those old witches and insisted on accompanying Haley to the meeting. The church is empty, and Klaus decides it's a trap. Haley teased him about his overprotectiveness, saying he would go crazy when Hope started dating. A new generation of witches appeared before them. The witches set up a ritual and demanded the blood of both Haley and Klaus, claiming it would bring the dead before them. Haley and Klaus did so. The witches then began chanting their spell. A wave of excruciating pain suddenly overwhelmed Haley and Klaus, causing them to collapse, only to awaken in another realm. A hooded figure appeared before them. It was none other than Davina. Davina explained to Haley and Klaus the origins of the Hollow. Two ancient tribes had decided to make peace, with two powerful witches representing each tribe forced into marriage. It wasn't long before they conceived their love child. The witches used powerful magic as a form of prenatal education, attempting to create a child with limitless power who could lead them. The child was soon born, and the girl was named Inadu. Inadu was indeed powerful, possessing the energy to destroy everything while still in her cradle. But her insatiable hunger for magic gradually stripped her of morality and reason. Klaus, uninterested in such a midnight horror story, asked how they could kill the Hollow, but Davina told him that the Hollow could not be killed. As time passed, Inadu grew into a beautiful young woman, but her bloodlust was insatiable. She could slaughter an entire village on a whim. Thus, Inadu became known as the Hollow. Haley insisted that the Hollow must have a weakness. Davina agreed, revealing that the Hollow's weakness was actually Haley. Klaus's incessant chatter finally angered Davina, who declared she didn't want to talk to him anymore. She grabbed Haley's hand and whisked her away to another realm. This blatant disregard infuriated Klaus, leaving him seething. In the space without Klaus, Davina continued to tell the second half of the story. To deal with the increasingly twisted Inadu, the people of the two tribes joined forces to capture her. The elders used magic to bind Inadu, and 4 of them infused their power into a sacred axe, entrusting it to Inadu's mother to end her daughter's life. But just before she died, Inadu cast a final curse, turning her own people into werewolves. Inadu's mother became the first werewolf of the Crescent Wolf Pack. Haley and Hope are the last of that bloodline, and her blood is the weapon that can kill Inadu. If Haley doesn't take the initiative to deal with Inadu, then Hope will be in danger of dying as well. Davina told Haley that the Hollow had already possessed a living person, and Haley must first use her own bloodline to release the Hollow. Then, she could use Klaus's power to lock the Hollow in hell. Haley, heeding Davina's advice, quickly turned and left the church. The 4 harvest witches appeared behind Davina, but Davina instructed them to fetch the stake that could kill the originals. The young witches turned and left. Meanwhile, Klaus, who had collapsed on the ground, was in grave danger. Marcel and Elijah, forced to work together, exchanged barbs along the way. Klaus arranged to meet an old friend from Mystic Falls at this location. The contact brought one of the Hollow's bones along with the location where another bone was hidden. At that moment, the old friend was speeding down the highway. Suddenly, the car mysteriously stalled, and a strange woman stood menacingly in the middle of the road. Alaric got out of the car, confused, to check on the situation, but Sophia, possessed by the Hollow, suddenly demanded that Alaric hand over the bone. Alaric pulled out a crossbow and fired at Sophia, but she effortlessly caught the arrow mid-air. With a simple gesture, Sophia sent Alaric flying. Alaric, however, didn't panic. He calmly stated that his car was filled with explosives. He fired a shot, blowing up the car, and a massive fireball shot into the sky. Elijah and Marcel arrived fashionably late in their luxury car, only to find Alaric injured and battered. Marcel quickly realizes it was Sophia who robbed the bones. Elijah suggested that they should end Sophia's suffering sooner rather than later, but Marcel was determined to save his new love. Alaric, tired of their endless bickering, revealed the location of the final bone, hidden in a cemetery on the other side of the city. They quickly made their way to the cemetery and found the Hollow's bone among the graves. However, a dispute arose between the two over the bone's fate, leading to a fierce fight. Sophia entered, declaring that it was pointless to fight over the bone. It belonged to her. Marcel tried to reach the real Sophia's soul within, but the Hollow's power was too strong for her to resist. With a wave of her hand, the Hollow sent Elijah flying, then grabbed Marcel by the throat and hurled him aside as well. Just as the Hollow was about to claim the third bone, Haley arrived in time to stop her. Meanwhile, Klaus, trapped in the witch circle by Davina, grew increasingly agitated, demanding she release him to confront the Hollow. But Davina refused, for ancient families each guarded a piece of the Hollow's bones, and if all 4 bones were brought together, the Hollow would have the chance to be reborn, and Klaus was the source of energy needed to lock the Hollow in hell. Haley slashed her palm with a dagger and then quickly stabbed the Hollow, but the bloodline's damage was far less than she had expected. The Hollow continued to dominate the scene, declaring that sealing her away wouldn't be so simple. It would at least require the sacrifice of one of the originals. At that moment, Klaus finally understood his predicament. Once the 4 witches retrieved the thorn, he would bid farewell to immortality forever. The Hollow, now in possession of the bones, quickly departed, Elijah and the others realized the gravity of the situation. Davina would show no mercy toward Klaus. They hurried back to the church. Davina, resolute in her decision, struck at Klaus first. Sitting on her little bed reading a picture book, Hope seemed to sense something. It was as if she faintly heard her father's pleas. Hope quickly removed the bracelet that suppressed her magic, climbed down from her bed, and ran outside. Marcel and the others arrived at the church first, but Davina remained unmoved by Marcel's pleas, even saying she didn't need to wait for the witches to bring the thorn. Marcel's venom would be enough to kill Klaus. Elijah offered to trade his life for his brother's safety, but Haley immediately rejected the idea. Davina didn't hesitate any longer. She chanted a spell and extracted Marcel's venom. Then she controlled the venom, slowly directing it toward Klaus. Just as Klaus's palm showed signs of injury, Hope appeared in time to stop Davina.
You promised to help, but you're not helping. You're hurting us, and I won't let you.
A gust of wind dispersed Davina's magic circle and sent Davina back to the afterlife. Seeing that her father was safe, Hope could no longer hold back and ran into her father's arms. With the storm finally settled, Alaric's mission was coming to an end. He had a friendly heart-to-heart with Hope. Haley appeared, holding a plate of candy in front of her daughter.
It's good meeting you, littlest Michelson.
Alaric turned to leave. Haley then revealed that, to thank Hope for saving his life, Klaus had compelled everyone in the candy store. Haley praised Hope for her bravery. Hope simply replied that she thought her mom would do the same. Mother and daughter exchanged their unique hand gesture, then embraced tightly. Klaus expressed his gratitude to Alaric. Alaric, however, praised Hope as an exceptionally gifted child, saying she needed the companionship of peers and a proper education. He revealed that he and Caroline had established a school specifically to teach children like Hope who possess supernatural abilities, but Klaus didn't agree to the suggestion, seemingly unwilling to return to Mystic Falls. To express his gratitude for Marcel's assistance and to show sincerity in forming an alliance against their enemies, Elijah visited Marcel's estate, bringing along the dagger capable of killing him, but Marcel's home was empty. The hollow ambushed Elijah from behind, driving the thorn stake into his body. Elijah collapsed to the ground. Unable to resist,